Good morning, grade 11. I'm here again for you today. Third term, economics, grade 11. You are part and parcel of this initiative. So for today, we were looking at your poverty, and poverty is one of the economic topics of the day prescribed by the CAPS curriculum, right? So in your subject economics, poverty, we're moving today on the issue of poverty. So in the next line, I want to bring to you what you will learn today. Today you will learn about the definition of poverty. You will learn about the distinguish between absolute poverty and relative poverty. You will also learn about the causes of poverty in South Africa. You will also see the impact of poverty on economic development. We will then possibly explore government strategies to reduce that and engage in critical thinking about possible solutions to these things. But as I said, also for the previous lesson in grade 10, I said that I will follow up on the different strategies and solutions in our next lesson, right? So for this session, you need to know, and it's very important at the end of the year, when you write that October, November exams, you will see there's very important concepts that you need to cover under poverty. You need to understand what is absolute poverty. Now, absolute poverty is a lack of basic necessities like food, shelter, and clothing. So those are the very important, I call them the primary needs of every human being. So if a person don't have food, he will starve. He needs shelter, where to sleep. He must have a roof. And you will see people are looking down on people in squatter camps in that sink. I grew up in under that circumstances, but that how I get out of that poverty. It's a totally different story. And also clothing, you need to clothe. You will see some of the people is so poor, and if you give them something to clothe, they will be very grateful. Then you must also understand and define what is relative poverty, is being poor in comparison to other societies, and we come to that. You must also understand what is meant by the poverty line. Now, the poverty line is the minimum income required to meet your basic needs. And you see the government have introduced your social grants, even the grants during COVID, those people that lost their jobs. That grant has been, they call it the SSD grant. So that grant is still in place, and government have extended till next year to the next budget. That is very important. Then you need also to understand what is inequality. Inequality is the unequal distribution of income and wealth. You will see in one of the videos, and by the way, some of these videos I played with a purpose to understand. Maybe some of you are staying maybe in a fluent area, but you must understand the reality, what is happening in our country. And as a young person, you are in grade 11, and next year you will be possibly in grade 12. And then the year after that, you will look for a job, and you will understand that the unemployment rate is very high. So, and then you need to use your power, and that power is your voting power. So that is very important. And next year we're going to an election, and you know the election is by November, possibly running over to January. I'm not sure. That must still be fleshed out. You must also learn what is a social grant. Now, a social grant is a government financial support to vulnerable groups. But you see, there's social grants, there's so many things coming out. I don't want to talk about that. So when I see how the taxpayers' money is not correctly spent, which particularly the social grants, and the people that need that social grant are not getting it. And then you must understand what is unemployment. It's a major contributor to poverty. In grade 10, you did cover unemployment. And I know you will understand there's different types of unemployment. And there's the causes and also the consequences of unemployment. But I will not cover that. I will cover poverty. Now, what is poverty? Poverty refers to the condition in which an individual or a group lacks the financial resources to meet the basics standards such as food, shelter, healthcare, and education. That you need to understand. It's a condition. Poverty is a condition, but you can come out of that condition if you're creating jobs for yourself, or you're finding a job and you go up into your living standard. Now, it is a multi-dimensional concept that can be measured in different ways depending on the context and the purpose. So, poverty is a condition, and you can get out of that condition if you work very hard in your grade 11 studies. Next year, grade 12, you work hard, you set yourself goals. If you're living in poverty now, I can give you an example where I was. And today, I have studied, because opportunities arise, and sometimes opportunities stand in front of you, and it all depends what you want to do with that. So let's continue. There's different types. Let's look at the different types, right? It's very important. There's different types of poverty. You have your absolute poverty, and you have your relative poverty. Remember the concepts. We say that absolute poverty occurs when a person cannot meet the minimum requirements necessary to sustain a basic standard of living. I want to repeat, this is a very important definition, because your teacher will give you this definition. So I'll possibly ask you, differentiate between absolute poverty and relative poverty. Then you must know the understanding. And there's certain words you need to understand. It occurs when a person cannot meet the minimum requirements. That is it, right? The minimum requirements necessary to sustain a basic standard of living. The relative poverty is where a person's income or resources are significantly below the average in their society, right? So in your street that you are currently living with, you will find people that is in absolute poverty. They cannot meet that, and because of unemployment. In your street are living people that is relatively poor, right? They don't have a car, but maybe in your class are learners that you can identify, but don't look down on them, please. I ask you, if you have a bread or something there, don't question them, just share with them. I still remember when I was in grade 1, 2, and 3, and those years it was sub A, sub B, and standard 1. And my teachers realized I was staying in a squatter, I was staying in a informal settlement. And because of my parents. And the teacher realized, and every day the teacher packed another 2 pieces of bread. And then during intervals, before intervals, he called me and he gave to me. You know, I sometimes when I think about that, I sit with tears in my eyes. I visited her when she was 89, but she has passed on now. I visited her, I think it was before COVID, it was 2017. I went back to that village, and you know, I handed over to her a special gift, and I told her, grade sub A and sub B, you was my teacher, right? So because in a rural village, the teachers have to teach grade sub A and sub B. And so she was my teacher. I still remember like yesterday, how she packing a nice piece of bread for me. And by the way, there was the school didn't have a feeding scheme like we have now, feeding schemes. And so she realized that I was so poor. And sometimes in the mornings there was no time for me even to eat. And so she realized it. And so sometimes she called me in and she said to me, Michael, I know I brought something for you. And later she gave me later leadership roles in the classroom. And so I came through that painful era. And so now I can even better, because I started off as a plumber because of my uncle who took me from the street, becoming a plumber. If he did not took me from the street, then where I will be, nothing. And I completed my standard 10. It was difficult years. So poverty, I have eat, sleep, and drink that. I can testify on that. And even in my book, from a plumber to a professor. I talk about the first part of the chapters. It will be published very soon, where I talk about poverty in my life, where I eat, sleep, and feel poverty in my body. And so that this is a very important issue. If you did not go through it, you don't have a lived experience. So how we measure this absolute poverty? It is usually defined by a fix, but poverty cannot define you. Poverty is only a condition, right? As I said, but it cannot define you or measure you as a person. You can go out of that poverty. It all depends. Now, the World Bank indicated that for a person to be under absolute poverty is a person that receives less than $2.50. So $2 today, the dollar is 18 rand. So a person on a daily basis who have less than spend less than 50 rand. It's currently 90 rand. They have increased that number, 90 rand. If a person in your community that you know spend less than 90 rand per day, that person is absolute poverty. And then on the other hand, you can measure a person with relative poverty who earn earning less than 60% in a household, who can't even afford to watch DSTV or have a TV in the house. There's no TV in the house. They use a radio. They don't have a cell phone with data and stuff on. They have maybe a very cheap cell phone in that particular house. They're struggling. Some of them cannot even afford a taxi. They have to walk. So those are relatively poverty. And I can relate to those things. Even one of my family members is currently unemployed. And you can see he only meet the relative part of that. So what is then the characteristics of these? The focus is on survival, food, clean water, shelter, does not change with social standards or economic development. On the other hand, the relative poverty, what we can see there, there's inequality, there's social exclusion, and those things you need to study, very important. Sorry, I have to bring in sometimes things of myself, of my lived experience. As a professor, I cannot forget that past. But the past will remind me where I can go to the future. If you are now in a situation, you can move from this condition to another condition. You can move out of that. And education will be your weapon to your liberation. That is what Mr. Mandela said. I still remember his words. He said, you can live in poverty, but poverty is only a condition. You can go out of that. And to go out of that is education. Never take your education that you are now in grade 11 for granted. Study hard, respect your teacher. And then you will get out of that poverty cycle that your family, you can break the poverty cycle if you believe it. If you believe I will be an entrepreneur one day and I will help my community, you can do that. But let's define the causes of this poverty in South Africa. Number one is unemployment. That is a cause. Unemployment, it's a major cause to poverty. Right? Low levels of education and skills. Another, because people don't have the skills, education, they are dropouts after the school, maybe of circumstances, maybe of poverty in the family, of unemployment. Inequality in income distribution. Certain people earn more than because of high-skilled jobs, professionally well-paid jobs, and they escape this poverty. Then there's also lack of access to basic services. Poor community often lack clean water, like on television when every time you switch on that. That's why I not watch TV news anytime. And sometimes I switch on the TV because you get that sense. But as a reality, is there on television on a daily basis. Electric challenges, sanitation. Even in your area, you can see today there's no water. Remember the time where we have load shedding. So basic services. Historical factors, your urban-rural divide. So people in the rural areas, there's a huge divide between them. And the poverty levels are really because there's no infrastructure, there's less economic opportunity in your rural area compared to urban. But now the people migrate from your rural to the urban, and the urban, they created now more challenges, problems. Like over the weekend, I once the premier of Gauteng, Mr. Lesufi, was talking about the mushrooming of squatter camps in certain areas, and it is areas that he said they will not tolerate that. But he is a premier, must understand. Why is it like that? That there's push factors pushing people from the rural areas because of poverty and unemployment coming into the urban areas, and the people think there will be a job for them. Then poor governance and corruption. You still remember my lesson on the national budget and all those things. Poor governance, like in your municipalities, like 85% of municipalities is poor governance. And there's corruption, high levels of corruption. You see it on a daily basis. So those are causes to. So the money that's supposed to be spending on people in absolute poverty and relative poverty, making the streets, building schools, renovating schools, and no more mud schools that needs expansion. Those are, and global economic conditions like your trade wars. Mr. Donald Trump started with trade, put on a 30% trade tariff on us, import duty in his country. There's your global recessions. There's wars between Russia and Ukraine, and you see in the Middle East, and you see now America and China, economic wars and trade wars, and now you have your tech companies, your big tech companies with Chinese tech companies, and those are things that created poverty in South Africa, because those are indirect influences that impact on our economy, and because our economy slowed down, people have less jobs. So that causes your poverty more and more. But I said poverty is only a condition. Remember this. If you think about poverty, it's only a condition. Only you that take your education serious can move out of poverty. That is the solution. And there is reasons. In my next lesson, I will show you the strategies that people using, and there's so nice case studies where a person moved from out of poverty into wealth, and so on.
Brothers, his parents, and 3 children to support. He's the only one in his family with a job. He works 12 hours a day, 7 days a week as a security guard in a rich Johannesburg neighborhood. Enoch lives in the township of Alexandra, one of the poorest areas of this city.
Life is very rough. There are more than 40 of us sharing one toilet and a tap. The $300 I earn a month is not enough to support me and my family.
That works out to be more than $1.25 a day, which puts Enoch above the extreme poverty line, according to the World Bank. But with all his dependents and the rising cost of living, Enoch can't even afford to feed himself properly. He can't afford public transport either, and every day he has to walk 3 hours to and from work. A World Bank report in 2014 says around half this country's urban population live in townships or so-called informal settlements like this one. The report goes on to say that it's places like this that are home to around 60% of this country's unemployed. Some of the worst violence against foreign migrants, who many locals accuse of taking their jobs, happens in neighbourhoods like these. The government says it will tackle what it describes as the root causes of the problem, including poverty, unemployment and immigration. But analysts say the government has failed so far.
The number of people living in poverty is now about 53% of the total population. The number of people who are unemployed is higher than it was in 1994, at the end of apartheid. The level of protest is increasing. The trend is upwards, whether we're talking about strikes or whether we're talking about community protests. The basic problems are not being addressed by the government, which is becoming increasingly unpopular, out of touch with ordinary people.
Enoch describes how he feels when he walks through the neighbourhood in which he works.
I know people I work for are very rich. It's painful to return every day to my place in Alexandra, but I have no choice. It's a better life than a life of crime.
For Enoch and millions of people like him, a meaningful change in post-apartheid South Africa is yet to come. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera, Johannesburg.
So let's understand, in the previous video, you have looked at poverty and how that person explained on a daily basis. He cannot afford a taxi, he have to walk. So is that person in absolute poverty or in relative poverty? Think about that. This is a question I ask you. If is he in absolute poverty or in relative poverty? That's for you to answer. In the next line is to understand the impact of poverty on economic development in the country. So the impact of poverty on economic development is first reduce human capital, so less people are qualified, skilled. Secondly, there's lower consumer demand, so less people have less money to spend. So the economy can stimulate. There's an increase in social costs, so government have to budget more for social grants, and so on and so on. There's limited entrepreneurship activity because less and less people go into a job because of certain constraints. There's also your intergenerational cycles between the youth and those who are employed. Your political and social instability, where you have which influence the country, like Mr. Donald Trump with his trade tariffs, the wars in the Middle East, the wars between Russia and Ukraine. And those things, and also political and social instability. Suppose even in the country itself. So those are things that have an impact on economic. But what was for me impactful when I went to Durban for a particular conference, and the conference was on a particular area where we're looking at TVET colleges. And I came across this particular case study, the life in KwaMashu. Now, KwaMashu is more north of Durban. And KwaMashu is a township located north of Durban. When you go from Durban, you're going up to the airport. Before you come to the airport site, you will see there's a major township called KwaMashu. It is a home of thousands of residents, many of whom face daily challenges related to poverty. Unemployment is very high in that community. And why is that? Most of the people then streaming from the Eastern Cape, from the parts of Matati Hill and so on to that area. And they think Durban maybe have enough jobs for them. That is, they migrate. Unemployment is pretty high among the youth. Access to quality education and healthcare is limited. Despite these challenges, the community members have started initiatives to uplift the community. There's a lot of NGOs I also realize in that area of KwaMashu. Like there was one day, there was this floods in 2019, 2018, 2019, and again. So the gift of the givers, they was working in that area. And when we visit that area was, for me, important to understand how the community is helping. There's different NGOs. One initiative is the Youth Empowerment Project, which is relevant in that area, which offers skills training, carpentering, sewing, and digital literacy. The project is supported by local NGOs, and it is funded by government grants as well as foreign grants or foreign. So Sipho is a 19-year-old resident, joined the program after dropping out of school. Sipho dropped out of school because of his parents was living in absolute poverty that you have studied previously. Now he earns a small income by making furniture and hopes to start his own. So he was more skilled in welding and carpentering. So he chose over carpentering because he make now chairs and flower boxes, and he make a living for that. So here's a couple of questions for you to complete when we come back for our next session, and that is important, that what we must do and so on. So The first question is more a set of questions. The 3 questions, there's more comprehensive questions. Second group of questions is more for critical thinking, and the last is more for a class discussion. Now, what are the main causes of poverty in KwaMashu? By the way, when we come back, we will discuss that in our next session. How does the Youth Employment Project help to eradicate poverty in the area? What role does government play in support these initiatives? And critical thinking suggests 2 additional ways the community could help reduce poverty. What do you think? Do you think skills development is a sustainable solution? Why and why not? So we will have 2 groups in our discussion. We will start off with these questions next when we start. And then in groups discuss how similar projects could be implemented in your own community, where you're coming from. I think this will be a nice project for your portfolio that your teacher can help you with. And what challenges might arise and how could they be overcome? So those are very important, nice questions. And I also give you a couple of economic quizzes on poverty. Here are the quizzes. They're short answers, nice, that you can complete for me. So which of the following best define absolute poverty? Who can give me that one? Is number B, lack of access to basic necessities like food and shelter. That is what absolute poverty is, right? Then what is a poverty line? That you must answer it, right? It's very important. Which of the following is not a cause of poverty in South Africa? Who can say that? Thank you very much. I like that. B, access to quality education. That is an outlier. That is not a cause of poverty, but the rest is causes of poverty. Which government initiative aims to reduce poverty? Is it VAT increase? Is it social grants? Is it import tariffs? Interest rate? Yes, Sipu, you are correct. Is B, social grants. That is what government doing to reduce poverty. And then what you can do for me in section B is answer these questions. What is relative poverty? And you must also give me an example. By the way, in the test that your teacher will give you, you will see this is coming up. List 2 consequences of poverty on the economy. Yes, that is very important. Name 2 types of social grants provided by the South African. What are the 2 social grants? That is easy. You know that it's old age pension and the child grant. That's 2. And even the SSD grant, those people that is who receive that 350 rand every month. The application, read the story or the case study on SIPO, and then you answer those questions for me. Thank you. Ne? And then quiz under A, identify 2 indicators of poverty in SIPO's situation. Suggest 1 government intervention that could help family. I don't want you to give me the one, the Youth Empowerment Project, but there's a lot of others, so you must do a little bit of research for me, ne? And then you come up with that, and you can then argue why you think it's that important. So I've come to the end of this session on poverty. I hope you've enjoyed and learned from it. I want to repeat, poverty is only a condition that you are in. But through your education, you can get out of this poverty cycle, or a person can get out of this condition, out of poverty, but it's only through education. I can guarantee you that. I have a first-hand experience. So for homework, read a case study on KwaMashu. It's called Breaking the Circle of Poverty. Study those questions and then complete the questions for us. In our next lesson, we will be looking at the strategies the government can introduce to reduce poverty. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson on poverty. It's a very sensitive topic. And sometimes we need to think, those of us who is in a privileged position, to think those who are not in a privileged, even those that live in absolute poverty, and not chase the person away and say, but you look like that. Possibly one day you will be in that situation and you can feel the pain. But give, I'm not saying hand out to people, but there's the other counter argument. Say, if you give these young people that is stand on the street, they buying drugs with this money. So sometimes I'm not giving the person money. I said, okay, I can buy you. Or sometimes I'm standing at the door, like in Checkers or pick up. I stand behind this lady or this woman, and I can see live in relative poverty. And I'm a professor, and sometimes I said, I asked the question, they said, okay, then I assume that I pay for it. So I blame people because I'm coming from them. Sometimes I only see a person buy a worker is only bread. And I said to him, do you want something to eat with the bread? Maybe cheese, maybe pie, maybe a liter of milk, not Coke. I told him it's not good for your body. But if you prefer Coke, I will rather prefer or suggest to you a liter of milk. And then I said, okay, do you want something to eat that is cooked here in the shop, like Checkers? We went to the place, and I said to him, okay, you can take what you want. And he looked at me. I said, come, take. And I can see it's a worker that is relative poverty, but he's in a peace job. Even my own gardener, sometimes when I see he's struggling, sometimes I didn't even, not even, I keep quiet, then I see, but he talked to my wife, he said, I don't have this and this. And then, but I'm not using it every day because I'm teaching him a particular skill, a lesson that you can get out of this condition. So sometimes I bought food for him and so on and so on. I also contribute to where I'm going to church. I contribute to NGOs and even to schools. I believe this weekend one of the schools asked me for a donation, and the school said the community is so poor they cannot send the 2 children to go to the spelling bee competition there in the Northern Cape, because the school know me because I was a teacher at that school there in Warrington in the Northern Cape. And I said to the school, don't worry, we will see what we can do to help the school. And the children went there and they win. So congratulations to that school. Congratulations on your results. I hope you have enjoyed Poverty in grade 11. Go for it. And I thank you. Thank you for this lesson. Thank you for the honor to bring to you the best. Thank you very much.